What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host who does the most, Ethan Smith, and I'm back after a pretty long weekend. Hopefully, everybody has had a phenomenal holiday weekend. Happy Labor Day to everybody listening today. We were supposed to have Pirates baseball, but of course, it was rained out, so the Pirates and Mets will be making that game up on Wednesday. But we're going to talk about the last series that the Pirates had against the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to recap that series. I had some notes on it. We're also going to talk about the upcoming series against the New York Mets and Daniel Vogelbach's return to Pittsburgh after starting the year with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and why I thought this weekend was especially interesting with some of the stuff that we had going on in Pittsburgh Pirates land, especially with a certain ceremony and a couple of questions that were asked to a certain someone. My name is Ethan Smith of the Locked On Pirates podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates. Thank you, of course, for listening to this podcast every single day that I get it to you. You guys are phenomenal. You're great. I cannot thank you enough for tuning in every single day. With that said, guys, let's get into today's episode.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to that Pirates podcast, everybody. I am your host who does the most, Ethan Smith. Again, I hope you guys are all enjoying your holiday weekend. I hope you're enjoying Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Hopefully you're having a fun little time while you're listening to this podcast, maybe grilling up some hamburgers as the summer comes to a close. However you celebrate Labor Day, I hope you're having a really fun time. My name is Ethan Smith, as I mentioned in the intro, and we're going to get right into things. This weekend of Pirates baseball was overshadowed by a lot of different stuff. Of course, football came back. We had the backyard brawl this past Thursday. Shout out to Pittsburgh for defeating West Virginia in the first backyard brawl that we've had in 11 years, and what was a very fun game. Make sure you go check out Nick Farbaugh of Locked On Pitt for all the stuff you need to know about that. But this was just kind of your typical Pirates series as of late against a team that was just much better than them. Toronto just played well. They outplayed the Pittsburgh Pirates in pretty much every facet. You look at the final scores of the games, and you could see that. It was 4-0, 4-1, and 4-3. The Pirates scored 4 runs over the 3 games. The Blue Jays scored 4 runs in all 3 games. So no mystery as to why Toronto won this series. But there were some things to talk about. We got to see Johan Oviedo make his debut as a Pittsburgh Pirate after coming from St. Louis in the Jose Quintana trade. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty impressed with what I saw from Oviedo. He could have hit the zone a little bit better. He did have 3 walks, but 4 strikeouts in 3 innings. He only allowed 2 hits. He never really got into too much trouble either. And he left the game unscathed. He had 0 earned runs allowed. And then Tyler Beede came in and Johan Ramirez came in later to ruin what was really a pretty solid pitching day for, excuse me, for Johan Oviedo and Chase DeYoung, who combined to only give up 3 hits over 5 innings and each had a couple of walks. But this is something for the Pirates that I'm looking forward to over the rest of this month to recap the season. I want to see guys make some statements. Make a statement as you end the year. 3 innings pitched for Oviedo on 77 pitches and 46 strikes is not going to blow the roof off of PNC Park. It's not going to wow management. It's not going to wow the coaching staff. But it's a start. It shows that you didn't just trade Jose Quintana for no reason. You traded Jose Quintana for a pitcher in Johan Oviedo, who is more than likely a relief arm, but a good one at that. And Malcolm Nunez, who has done well in the minor leagues at Altoona. Outside of that game on Friday, Jack Sawinski had a decent game. He was 2 for 4. Tyler Heineman was 2 for 3. But like this entire series, the Pirates' offense was just abysmal again. Alek Manoah had a big game that day as well. And then we get to Saturday, which was not too bad either. Roansy Contreras, again, had a phenomenal start against a team with a very good starting lineup. I mean, when you look at who Contreras faced that game, Springer, George Springer, Vlad Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, Matt Chapman, Bo Bichette, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Santiago Espinal, Whit Merrifield, Remiel Tapia, and Danny Jansen. Roansy Contreras, honestly, has been the best thing that we've seen to me from the Pittsburgh Pirates over the last month. You have the start against Atlanta where he has a couple of bad pitches over the course of the game, but Michael Harris's home run is his only blemish. You then get a good start against the Philadelphia Phillies, another perennial playoff team this year in the National League. Then you're facing an American League wildcard team in the Toronto Blue Jays, and he goes out there, pitches 6 innings, only gives up 1 run, and fans 5. Roansy Contreras has been a revelation for this team since coming back. He's done phenomenal. His command has been there for the most part. He's using his pitch mix very well. He has good command on the fastball, which is arguably and easily, I would say, his best pitch, not arguably. His slider is awesome. And you look at it, you have to look at it under a lens of saying, okay, Roansy Contreras was sent down to AAA more than likely for service time manipulation. But he's come back and he's done a lot better. So what does that say about the coaching staff at AAA for those 4 starts he was there, where obviously he dominated AAA pitching? You know what I mean? It's one of those things that you really have to consider when you're looking at these young pitchers, when you're looking at these guys that are trying to improve. Where were they at any given point, and where are they now? Roansy Contreras is a better pitcher now than he was 3 months ago. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. But once again, the offense didn't give him anything really of note at all. He left the game with it tied. I don't think he was credited with the loss. No, it was Dwayne Underwood Jr. who imploded after Roansy Contreras left the game. But when you only give up 4 hits to a lineup like that, that is very, very big for a guy like Contreras' confidence. That's the word I was looking for. And I think anytime he pitches right now, if you're watching the Pittsburgh Pirates, you need to be psychoanalyzing every single pitch that Roansy Contreras throws and just watch his confidence continue to grow. He's the best pitcher on this staff, unquestioned. Mitch Keller's the second best, but unquestionably right now, Roansy Contreras is miles better than any other starting pitcher on the staff, and I don't even think, again, it's particularly close. I think he is just he's removed himself from the conversation of being a part of that group. And that's something the Pirates need. They have needed that. They need that bona fide starter that they can go to every 5 days. Roansy Contreras is that. He is exactly that, and he fits the mold. We then go to Sunday, which, watching this game yesterday made me not even want to talk about this team after this. But it was very interesting to me that the Pirates jumped out to a 3-2 lead in the 5th inning. Things looked good. You're facing a guy in Ross Stripling who has had a pretty good year. JT Brubaker even had a good start for his credit. 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. He had a good run of things. Dwayne Underwood got beat up again. It was just not a good series for Dwayne Underwood. But the starters all had great games this series. There was no issue with the pitching outside of Dwayne Underwood for the most part and Johan Ramirez. That was really it. The offense just continued to be sluggish again. You got to see O'Neal Cruz, of course, hit a home run in this game. He continues to do great things. He has the 10 hardest hit balls by a Pittsburgh Pirate this season. I believe 7 of them resulted in hits. Jack Sawinski continues to have great Sunday day games at PNC. But outside of that, Tyler Heineman had a hit. Josh Van Meter had 2 RBIs. And that was your offense. Brian Reynolds was 0 for 4. Castro 0 for 3. Marcano 0 for 4. If this team wants to go anywhere moving forward, if they want to go anywhere after this season, the rest of this month, These starters can only give you these good starts every so often. Just on a talent level, they're just not that talented. But you have to back them up eventually. You do. And when you're outscored 12-4 over the weekend, that's not a good sign. Especially when the Blue Jays scored 4 runs in all 3 of their wins. And then the bottom of the ninth inning, you get second and third with nobody out, and you get 3 straight strikeouts, which starts with Josh Van Meter. It's not a recipe for winning. Ask the Milwaukee Brewers, who have had stud pitching over the last half decade, but no offense to show for it outside of Christian Yelich a couple years ago. As much as people want to talk about it, this league is won on offense now. Pitching is great, like the Mets right now, who the Pirates will face tomorrow as they were supposed to face today. Phenomenal pitching staff, but they have a phenomenal offense now to supplement it. The Los Angeles Dodgers, great pitching staff with an offense to show for it. The Yankees' biggest issue right now, their pitching staff is fine. Their offense just isn't producing. If the Pirates are going to want to get anywhere in the next couple years, this offense is going to have to improve by leaps and bounds. The pitching, I think, is going to be there. You can go out and find good pitching. I just don't necessarily trust this team to go out there and find hitting. So before we get into the wonderful Pirates versus Mets series, which we'll see everybody's favorite guy, Daniel Vogelbach, returning for his debut as a New York Met in Pittsburgh. Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit? It's a big deal. It's no big deal, right? Well, you're wrong. The truth is your reaction time slows way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but every single person around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. So the Mets, a lot like the New York Yankees, have kind of made a slide a little bit, as the Atlanta Braves are now only 1 game back of the New York Mets in the NL East, and the Yankees, of course, holding their 5-game lead on the AL East. Both teams, ironically, with 80 wins and about the same losses. Yankees have played 1 less game. The Mets have had a slide, though, as of late. They lose to the Nationals 2 out of 3 with a 7-1 scoreline in both of those games. And that was coming off the heels of a Dodgers series where they won. So this Mets team, obviously very good. Taijuan Walker and Bryce Wilson are slated to go tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, it appears that we're going to see, we don't know who we're going to see yet, but it looks like Jacob deGrom will be on the mound on Wednesday for New York, while Chris Bassett will pitch the late game. If we're previewing this series, I just really don't know what to say outside of the fact that you just struggled against the Blue Jays offensively. The Blue Jays have a pretty good pitching staff. Don't get me wrong. You got Alek Manoah, Ross Stripling. There's some good guys there. But it's not the Mets rotation. The Mets rotation is arguably the best in the National League and could possibly be the best in baseball if it's healthy. The Pirates are going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to go out and face deGrom. They're going to have to face Chris Bassett. They're going to have to face Taijuan Walker. If the offense can get going, I would like to see it, but I'm not expecting it. Now, I said this last year when the Pirates played a series at PNC against the Mets, and we got the wonderful Jacob Stallings walk-off home run that was a very big moment in that season. But at least that team had some semblance of an offense. One big thing that I think I'm going to enjoy about this, we will get to see Oviedo on Wednesday night, it appears. So that'll be something to follow. And then this series is followed by a series against the Miami Marlins, it appears. Or no, that's the Mets, sorry. They play the Cardinals in another series and then travel to Cincinnati. As the season winds down, I think for the Pirates at this point, the wins and losses really don't matter. They're going to lose 100 games probably. It's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Just go out there and look competitive. For what it was worth in this Toronto Blue Jay series that we just watched, the team didn't play great, but they at least stayed in the game for the most part. What I'm scared of for this Mets series is that they're not going to be able to stay in the game with a team that is much better than them. The Mets, for instance, I think would beat the Blue Jays in a 7-game series in about 5 or 6 games. I just think the pitching would overpower a Blue Jays offense that has struggled this year. Which leads me to say, I'm expecting the Pirates to get swept in this series. The only thing I think that stops them is the fact of the doubleheader. I think the Wednesday night game in that doubleheader is the Pirates' best chance to win against Chris Bassett, mainly because they're at home. If this was a New York series, good luck. Which I do believe the Pirates still head to New York later this month for a 4-game series against the Mets and a 2-game series against the Yankees with, ironically, the Pirates-Mets game on Fox in a couple of weeks. So that'll be interesting. So this is kind of a precursor to what we've seen. And this is also the first time these teams have played this year. So we don't really know what we're going to see from Pittsburgh against the Mets. But the Mets, of course, have a lot to like. Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, Francisco Lindor. It's a lot to like about that Mets team. So my gut is telling me the Pirates are going to get swept, but more than likely I could see them pulling out a win. I just think their best chance to do it is going to be Wednesday night against Chris Bassett on the second doubleheader game. Now, what I will like to see is I do believe that the Pirates get to call up an extra person for the doubleheader. So we'll see what they decide to do there. That could be that undecided pitcher we get to see face Jacob deGrom. No biggie there. But the Pirates to win this series are just going to have to hit the baseball. That's just how it's going to have to work. And it's a tall task against Walker, Bassett, and deGrom. That's a very tall task for any team, let alone an offense that has just been abysmal for the better part of the entire year. So if the pitching can go out there and limit a good Mets offense, I think the Pirates have a chance, but I'm not expecting much. Now, this weekend was very interesting for a lot of reasons. The Pirates, of course, get swept, but that wasn't even really the biggest thing I think that came out of this weekend. The biggest thing I think came out of this weekend was the fact that the Pirates had their inaugural Hall of Fame class inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame this year. Some great names, great guys on and off the field that wore the black and gold with a lot of pride. Bob Nutting was asked about the state of the Pirates during the press conference for this and said that he did not want to shed any light away from these great Hall of Famers, which I understood. But what it made me think about was at some point, Bob Nutting and management and coaching are going to have to answer some questions that are very hard to answer in this organization. If the Pirates lose 100 games this year, this would be the third year in a row that they lose 100 games, with them being on pace to lose that many in 2020. That's not exactly, I think, how people expected this rebuild to go. I think a lot of us, especially when this team was 5 games under 500 at 24-29, wouldn't have expected this team to only win 25 games since that point. They were 24-29 at one point, I believe, going into the month of June. We're now in September, and the team has won 25 games since. That is concerning because, as I allude to a lot, again, about this team, there was a right to be excited about Pirates baseball when that team swept the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were playing with energy. The young guys were going out there and they were doing their thing. They were losing games still. They were still under 500. They were never going to make the playoffs, but they looked competent. They went into Chavez Ravine and swept the freaking Los Angeles Dodgers. Later after that, they beat the Yankees in 2 out of 3 games. It's no understatement, folks. They went 6-2 against the Yankees and the Dodgers so far this year, with a chance to improve on that against the Yankees later this month. They just looked different. There's 162 games in a baseball season. I know things are going to look different at times. You're going to play better in one month than you are another month. But to have this big of a drop-off from 24-29 to now 49-84 is unacceptable. It really is. And we don't have answers. Yoshi Tsutsugo was finally taken off the roster about a month ago. That should have happened way before that. Josh Van Meter is still here. It took you a while to let Bly Madris down. And Travis Swaggerty and G1 Bay are still not even on the roster. And that's with me saying the idea that I think Ke'Bryan Hayes should be shut down for the year with his injuries and his discomforts that he's had with his body this year. The bullpen has looked like an absolute mess at times. Starting pitching has improved. But overall, this team is no different right now than it was last year. Besides the fact that we've gotten to see a lot of rookies get playing time. But I go back to this question and I ask everybody, why did they bring back all the veterans when the rookies were ready and primed to go? Also, why the hell was O'Neal Cruz not on this team to begin with? There's a lot of questions that have just not been answered truthfully or transparently by Bob Nutting, Ben Cherington, Pirates management, etc. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered about this organization going into 2023 that can be answered without words. Start trading some of these prospects for MLB talent. Go out there and sign some real guys that could make a difference on this baseball team. Go out there and make this team better heading into Bradenton, Florida in February. Give Pirates fans something to look forward to besides a ceremony for your first Hall of Fame class that realistically doesn't matter anymore. Because when people think about the Pirates, then when you watched Clemente and Dave Parker and Barry Bonds, Andy Van Slyke, Bobby Bonilla, Steve Blass, Tim Wakefield, all the greats that have played in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform, they think about the history of this team. They think about the history of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the history of the black and gold, the history of the family, the history of the late 80s, early 90s teams. Just how awesome the city of Pittsburgh embraced those teams. How Three River Stadium was sold out for these teams. The World Series run to beat the Baltimore Orioles in 1979. The team that lost to the Braves on a Barry Bonds throw that Sid Bream ended up being safe on. That's what people used to think about the Pirates. What do people think now? To put it simply, and to excuse my language, the Pirates have turned themselves into a fucking punchline. They trade all their good players. They don't spend any money. They're only good for a couple years and then they go into a rebuild. The prospects are good, but they never pan out. PNC Park is a nice ballpark to go see your team play, not the Pirates, your team. The Pirates are a punchline. Is Bob Nutting, Ben Cherington, all of management and the coaching staff going to change that? That's the question I leave you with on this wonderful Labor Day. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Locked On Pirates podcast, everybody. It's always an appreciative time when you guys tune in, when you comment, you like, you subscribe. I really appreciate it a lot. My name is Ethan Smith of the Locked On Pirates podcast. I will see you guys tomorrow with any news we got about the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll be with Gary Morgan tomorrow morning. Guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Labor Day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.